Night shift drivers, long-haul truckers, delivery operators, road maintenance crews spend thousands of hours on highways when traffic is gone. No congestion, no brake lights ahead, just open road. But experienced drivers will tell you, some highways feel wrong even when they're empty. This isn't about superstition. It's about design, visibility, and the way human attention works when there's nothing to react to. Empty highways remove the environmental cues that help drivers stay alert, and certain roads do this worse than others. Night workers learn to recognize these roads quickly, not because something happened there, but because of how the road makes them work harder to stay focused. This is about why some highways feel unsafe when they shouldn't. Most highway driving at night follows a predictable rhythm. Drivers settle into lane position. They track the white line on the right, the yellow line on the left. They monitor mirrors every few seconds. Speed stays consistent. Attention shifts between the road ahead, dashboard gauges, and occasional glances at surroundings. This rhythm works because the environment provides regular input. A curve every few miles, an overpass, a mile marker, exit signs. These small changes keep the brain engaged without requiring active decision-making. But some highways don't provide that input. Long, flat stretches with no curves, no exits for 20 or 30 miles, no variation in scenery, just darkness on both sides. The road becomes a straight line that doesn't seem to end. Drivers describe it as visual monotony. The brain stops processing new information because there isn't any. Lighting makes this worse in specific ways. Some highways have no overhead lights at all, which forces drivers to rely entirely on headlights. That's manageable, but highways with inconsistent lighting, lights every half mile, then a dark gap, then lights again, create a strobing effect. The eyes adjust to brightness, then readjust to darkness over and over. It's harder to maintain depth perception. Shoulder width also matters. Narrow shoulders, especially when combined with poor lighting, make the usable road feel smaller than it is. Drivers instinctively move toward the center line, even when there's no oncoming traffic. This uses up mental energy that would otherwise go toward monitoring speed or checking mirrors. Wind is another factor. Open highways with no trees or barriers allow crosswinds to push vehicles sideways. Drivers compensate constantly, making small steering corrections. On a daytime highway with other cars around, this feels normal. At night alone, it feels like fighting the road. Pavement texture plays a role too. Smooth asphalt is quiet. Drivers can hear their engine, their tires, the wind. Grooved pavement, common on older highways, creates a low hum that doesn't change. Some drivers say the hum makes them drowsy. Others say it just removes one more source of sensory variation. All of these factors combine into what night workers call highway hypnosis. The brain stays awake but stops fully processing the environment. Drivers don't fall asleep. They just lose track of time and distance. They'll suddenly realize they don't remember the last 10 miles. This happens on daytime highways too, but at night it's more dangerous because there are fewer prompts to snap attention back. No cars to pass, no pedestrians, no sudden changes in traffic speed. Experienced drivers recognize the early signs, when they catch themselves staring at the same point on the road for too long, when their speed drifts without them noticing, when they realize they haven't checked their mirrors in several minutes. That's when they know the highway is working against them. Drivers on empty highways face a specific kind of decision pressure. They have to actively choose to stay engaged when the environment doesn't require it. On busy roads, other vehicles force constant adjustments. Merge here, slow down there, change lanes, monitor the car ahead. The decisions are reactive, but they keep attention sharp. On empty roads, there's nothing to react to. Drivers have to create their own engagement strategies. Some use speed variation. They'll slow down slightly, then return to cruising speed. The change in engine sound and road feel provides a small reset. Others shift their scan pattern, checking mirrors more frequently, looking farther ahead, focusing on different sections of the roadway. Experienced drivers avoid cruise control on highways that feel unsafe. Cruise control removes the need to actively manage speed, which is one less thing the brain has to monitor. That sounds like a benefit, but on monotonous roads it makes disengagement worse. Radio helps, but only to a point. Talk radio works better than music because it requires language processing. Music can fade into background noise, but even talk radio doesn't fix the core problem. The road itself isn't providing enough input. Some drivers use physical cues. They adjust their seat position slightly. They change their grip on the wheel. They roll down the window for a few minutes, even in cold weather. The discomfort is intentional. It forces the body to pay attention. The decision that matters most is whether to stop. Night shift workers are under time pressure. Delivery schedules, shift start times, fuel efficiency targets. Stopping means losing time, burning extra fuel, and arriving late. But experienced drivers know when to stop anyway. Not because they're tired, because the highway itself is dangerous to stay on. They'll pull into a rest area or exit ramp, walk around for 5 minutes and get back on the road. It's not about rest. It's about breaking the monotony cycle before it becomes a problem. What drivers don't do, they don't speed up to get through it faster. Higher speed on a monotonous highway makes disengagement worse, not better. The brain processes less information at higher speeds, and on a road that's already low stimulation, that's a bad combination. They also don't rely on willpower. Telling yourself to stay focused doesn't work for more than a few minutes. The strategies that work are physical and environmental. Change something about how you're interacting with the road, or change the road you're on. Some highways are designed in ways that make these strategies harder to use. Limited exits mean fewer opportunities to stop. Narrow shoulders mean less room to pull over safely. Long distances between rest areas mean drivers have to plan stops in advance. But planning requires recognizing the problem early, and that's harder when attention is already fading. The decision pressure isn't about a single moment. It's about maintaining a routine that works against what the environment is pushing you toward. Night shift road workers follow rules that never appear in training manuals. One rule: if a highway feels wrong in the first 5 miles, it'll feel wrong for the next 50. Drivers don't wait to see if it gets better. They adjust their strategy immediately or choose a different route if possible. Another rule: don't trust your sense of time on a straight highway at night. Drivers learn to check their odometer more often than their clock. Distance is more reliable than duration when the brain is in low stimulation mode. Experienced drivers also learn to recognize high-risk windows, times of night when highways feel most unsafe. Between 2 and 4 a.m., the body's natural alertness drops. Highways that are manageable at 11 p.m. become dangerous at 3 a.m., even though nothing about the road has changed. Rest areas are treated differently at night. Drivers don't just use them when they're tired, they use them preemptively. If there's a rest area coming up and the next one is 40 miles away, they stop, even if they don't feel like they need to. Another unwritten rule: if you start thinking about how long the road is, you're already disengaged. Attention should be on what's immediately around you, the next mile, not the next 100 miles. When drivers catch themselves calculating how much longer the trip will take, they know they need to reset. There's also a rule about lane position. On wide, empty highways, drivers don't stay perfectly centered in their lane. They drift slightly toward the shoulder line, not enough to cross it, but enough that the rumble strips on the edge become a backup alert system. If attention fades and the vehicle drifts right, the rumble strips provide immediate feedback. Some drivers follow a 3-change rule. If you haven't made 3 deliberate changes in the last 15 minutes, adjusted speed, checked mirrors, shifted position, changed radio station, you're disengaging. The changes don't have to be large. They just have to be intentional. These rules develop through repetition. New drivers don't learn them from instructions. They learn them after spending too many hours on highways that don't feel right. The rules are passed along informally, driver to driver, usually with a tone of, "You'll figure this out eventually." But the core principle behind all of them is the same. The road doesn't care if you're paying attention. You have to build that requirement into your own process. When drivers follow these routines, outcomes change in measurable ways. Lanes stay consistent, speed stays stable, exit awareness improves. Drivers know where the next rest area is without checking signs constantly. Fatigue sets in later because attention isn't being drained by fighting the environment. When routines are ignored, the consequences show up gradually. Lane drift becomes more common. Speed varies without the driver noticing. Reaction time slows, not enough to feel different, but enough to matter if something unexpected happens. Crashes on empty highways often involve single vehicles. No other cars, no obstacles, just a vehicle leaving the roadway. Investigations usually cite driver inattention, which is accurate but incomplete. The question is why attention failed, and often the answer is that the highway removed too many cues that keep attention engaged. Highways with higher single-vehicle crash rates at night tend to share specific features: long straight sections, poor or inconsistent lighting, limited exits, narrow shoulders. These aren't unsafe roads in an absolute sense. They're roads that require more active management from drivers, and not all drivers recognize that need. Road design standards are changing in some regions. Engineers are adding more curve variation on long rural highways. Rumble strips are being installed more frequently. Lighting is being upgraded to reduce the strobing effect. Rest areas are being spaced closer together. But thousands of miles of older highways remain unchanged. Drivers who work those roads at night adapt by building their own systems. The roads don't announce themselves as dangerous. They just quietly make disengagement easier. Empty highways feel unsafe when they stop providing the inputs that keep drivers engaged. Straight roads, monotonous lighting, long distances without variation. These aren't dramatic dangers. They're environmental conditions that make attention harder to maintain. Night shift workers learn to recognize these roads not through instructions, but through repetition. The patterns that work are simple. Break monotony before it breaks attention. The logic only makes sense from inside the work. From the outside, an empty highway looks safe. From behind the wheel at 3 a.m., it's a different kind of problem.